Good evening, Montrose. I am Mary Steinbach. I'm the Executive Director of the Montrose Recreation District. And it's my absolute honor and privilege to welcome you to tonight's webinar, in which you will cast your opinions and your votes for the things that make Montrose Recreation District and our Parks and Recreation system unique to us and make it work for us as an entire community. Good evening, Montrose. I am Mary Steinbach. We are joined tonight by our consulting team of Pros Consulting. They are our consultant on this master planning project. We will embark on a master planning process throughout the course of the whole of 2021, and we'll wrap it up in 2022. The reason we're doing this master planning process is because the last time that a master plan update was completed for the Montrose Recreation District was back in 2009. It built upon the successes that we have experienced since 2004, and it set a great foundation for the excellence that we have throughout our entire Montrose community and its Parks and Recreation system. Through those significant earlier planning efforts, we have this stellar community recreation center, the flagship of the Montrose Recreation District. We have the field house, very active, engaging place where sports teams can come and play, where we host our after school enrichment program, our summer enrichment program. And we have our most recently award-winning Connect Trail, the Citizens Trail that skirts the Uncompahgre River and connects a lot of people to activities throughout our town and connects our businesses and our residences and our schools and that. So we want to build upon that success. And as the Montrose community as a whole continues to experience new growth, new development, new residents moving into town, we must ensure that we remain relevant and provide to the Montrose community those services that our residents really want, that really make us relevant and make us a local, a regional, and a state player of excellence across the entire Parks and Recreation system spectrum. I'm going to turn over the webinar now at this point to Nilay Bhatt. He is our project manager from Pros Consulting. He's a principal of Pros Consulting, and he's going to guide us through this process. We're here right along with you. So again, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy lives today to help inform us and make the Montrose Parks and Recreation system what you want and need us to be. Nilay, take it away.
Brilliant. Mary, thank you so much, and good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining the second virtual public meeting for the Parks and Recreation Comprehensive Master Plan. My name is Nilay Bhatt, and as Mary said, I am the principal for Pros Consulting in Indianapolis, and I'm going to go and share a little bit more about our firm and our background in just a moment. But for those of you joining in right now, this is a webinar, so you are welcome to type your name, your background, any interest that you represent in the chat box. If you have any specific questions of us, please feel free to click anytime on the Q&A button that you'll see on the panel and type in your questions. Our team is available, including the staff and the consultants, to answer your questions as the meeting goes along. And at the end of the process as well, we'll open up to additional Q&A for any questions that have not been answered. Along with that, we're going to have live polls. We're going to share some great information about demographics, trends for the future, and of course, get your input as we continue to go along and get a sense of where you want the Montrose community to be. So, quick outcomes here. These are the main objectives that we embark upon as the start of this plan. We want to engage the community, leadership, stakeholders through innovative public input mechanisms, including these: utilizing a wide variety of data sources, patterns of use, best practices, to look at what the unmet needs are of your community. Based on that, build recommended levels of service standards that can guide future development. Along with that, ensure that this is not just a visionary plan, but also a feasible and a realistically implementable plan. That's where the financial and operational preparation will come in. And the goal with all these is also to ensure that this is a living, breathing document, something that guides the next 5, 10, 15 years, something that also looks at national accreditation through CAPRA and aspiring for gold medal as well. So these are some of the key outcomes we have from these. A little background about our team. I am the principal with Pros. As we said, we've been all over the country, and I've worked in Colorado for several years too, including recently finishing plans for Durango, for Windsor, Colorado. Our teams worked in Aspen, in Superior, and so on. I have my colleagues with me, a former Parks and Recreation Director, Philip Parnan, as well as an employee, a former employee of a gold medal winning park and recreation agency, who also led the beginning of their accreditation process, Jason Elisaldi. So they will be responding to the questions as you're typing them along. As a part of our team, we also have Logan Simpson, that is a local Colorado-based firm, the landscape architects, recreation planners, environmental specialists, GIS specialists, etc. They are actually going to be in Montrose in just this coming next 2 or 3 days to tour the system, to assess the sites, the amenities, the trails, the facilities. And they are going to be looking at intercept surveys to also get input from the community on the ground. Speaking of input, we will also have ETC Institute, which is a national statistically valid survey company. They are the best in the business. We've done over 400 surveys with them, and they will be conducting a statistically valid scientific survey for the Montrose community in English and Spanish both. So as a team, these are some of the places we worked in, everywhere from Disney to the Olympics to the Super Bowl to the Colorado Recreation and Park Association, as well as being on the boards of the National Recreation and Park Association. And in terms of agencies, what you see on the left-hand side are the agencies I was referencing in Colorado. The ones on the right-hand side of the screen are other national gold medal or accredited agencies that we have worked with. And that's the body of work and the experience we bring to the table to help Montrose achieve these levels and continue excelling as well. Over 40% of all nationally accredited agencies and 50% of all national gold medal agencies have been our clients, and we would love to add Montrose to this list as well. So before we go any further, we've shared a little bit about ourselves. At this point, I would love to get a sense of who we have with us in the audience. So I am going to launch polling here that you're going to be able to see on your screen for those that are on Zoom, or you'll see the slides that are watching this on Facebook Live as well. Questions: what is your gender? What age segment are you in? What zip code do you live in? And how many people are participating with you in this virtual meeting? So look forward to hearing your results and seeing them here. I'm going to give you all a few seconds to respond, and then we will go through your responses. Feel free to type in the chat box if you have any thoughts here as well. Okay. I'll give you all a few seconds more. Type in the chat box if you have a zip code that's not listed here. Also, otherwise, please feel free to respond to these questions here. All right, I'll give you a few seconds. Going once, going twice. Here we go. All right, let's take a look at the results here. So About 55% of all respondents are female, 45% male. The majority are ages 35 to 54. We've got a few of you under 17, which is great. We've got a few that are 55 to 74 as well. 81403 is the primary zip code. And most of you are by yourself. One of you has one other person, someone has two other people as well. That is great. So thank you all for joining and sharing a little bit about your background as well, so we understand the audience. Now, let's just quickly talk through the process here. For any strategic master plan document like this, we're really breaking it down into 3 steps. Where are we today? Where are we going to go? And how will we get there? So in order to do that here, this is where a lot of the assessment work on the ground, that's going to happen right off the bat. You all are going to give us a sense of where you want to go with your vision for the future. And then lastly, that's where all the input, the assessments, everything's going to come together for us to get a sense of how will we get there. Prioritizing the needs, looking at fees and charges, maintenance and operations, capital improvement, funding and revenue, and ultimately the strategic action plan. One thing I would love for each one of you to bookmark right now on your computer, on your phone, or write it down, is the name of the project website, makemymontrose.com. This is the multilingual, ADA accessible, and mobile friendly crowdsourcing website. The recording of today's meeting, all the input that we will hear from you throughout the process, social media links, access to online survey, as well as the findings from the things we assess and hear from you will all be shared on this website. So this is really your one-stop shop in terms of all parts of this comprehensive master plan. And we'd love to keep hearing from you throughout the process from this website. So a little bit about the community and the projections that we've gotten as well. This is where the total population growth, as we look at this, is expected to continue growing from about 34,000 odd to close to 40,000 in the next 10 to 15 years. This is using a source called ESRI, Environmental Services Research Institute, and they look at census tract data and population projections as well that we can look at. Along with that, we're also looking at age segments. And as you can see, the blue and the red bars, those are the ones that are growing the most. And I refuse to call them seniors. They don't behave like it. It's the active adult population over the age of 55. And this is where we see that 41% of your population will be over the age of 55. At the same time, close to 40% will continue to be young families and kids. So it's really looking at a multi-generational experience similar to the recreation center, the field house, and the amenities that the district currently provides. In terms of race and ethnicity, as we look at this too, the Hispanic Latino population makes up 1 out of 5 people in Montrose. From a race standpoint as well, we're fairly homogeneous, continuing to increase marginally in diversity as well. But we recognize that there are different race and ethnic groups and different race and ethnic preferences for recreation. And the goal through this plan and the recommendations is to be as inclusive as we can be to address the preferences and the needs of the different groups that call Montrose home. And then lastly, income levels. Right? What you see in blue is the per capita income. What you see in red, that's the, in orange rather, is the median household income. And that's the income of everybody over the age of 16 that lives under the same roof. So as you can see, our per capita and median household incomes both are marginally lower than the national averages, and by a good amount lower than the state averages as well. So it's going to be important for us as we think of this plan as well to ensure that as we think of financial sustainability and balancing that, We don't price people out of the market and have scholarship offerings and accessibility from a pricing and fee standpoint as well for the community to participate in. Some other things from a trend standpoint that we looked at too, this was through a source called SFIA, and that is Sports and Facility Industry Association. What they look at are recreation spending on different activities by people in the community. If they spend it elsewhere as well, it again, they're not tracking just what's done in the community, but what people from the community do. There might be a function here of also a lower cost of living compared to other places, as well as people going outside or to some other place to participate in these activities too. But what you see here is the national average of 100, that's the orange line, and you see softball and golf both being at that point or higher for general sports. From a fitness standpoint, some of the activities are below national averages. Again, these numbers are also tracked in the last 1 year, where one would imagine some of these activities are likely not to have been participated in because so many of the facilities were just closed, especially indoor ones as well. But when it comes to outdoor activity, clearly, as you can see, several activities from riding to archery, canoe, kayaking, fishing, all of these are anywhere from 4 to 23% higher than national averages in Montrose. So in summary, if you think about our population and the preferences, we're growing, we are aging to some degree, we are somewhat diverse as well, and we are lower than average in terms of income characteristics, but very high in terms of outdoor activity. So keeping those trends and ideas in mind, that's what we're going to be looking at, how we assess the programs and what kind of recommendations come out of that. So in terms of outreach, I want to share a few things with you. You're going to be the first agency in all of Colorado to have a live feedback app. It's going to be called Happy Feed Montrose. It will be launched next month on the App Store and on Google Play. And it's going to allow you from any location within the parks in the city and the amenities in the district to share pictures, videos, and text, and really share your feedback for what would you want to see, whether things that you really like and you want that to continue, or things that you want to improve at specific sites as well. We get the feedback in real time, and you can share feedback as many times as you want through this process as well. So along with makemymontrose.com, which is the website, also be sure to track this app, and we will keep you informed when it launches as well. Susie, I see a note on the cool data. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. So speaking of data, the other piece that's going to be really important is once we get the input from all these meetings, we had a number of focus groups today. We had about 60 or 70 different people, if not more, that we spoke to across several meetings. This week, same number last week as well. This is the second public meeting. So the combination of all these meetings and the input we get, that's going to be shared with ETC Institute to create a statistically reliable survey instrument. Now that's going to be mailed throughout the district so we can get over 375 completed surveys. All the other mumbo jumbo really means that for anything to be reliable, I have to be able to repeat the process over and over again and get similar results. What this tells me is that I am sure if I do this 100 times, 95 out of 100 times, the results you're going to see will be in a margin of error of plus or minus 5%. That's what makes it consistent and reliable. It's going to be mailed to you all by mail, by post. You'll have the option to respond by mail and fill the paper survey, or call a number and take the survey over the phone, or use a one-time link and share this as well directly online. The survey is going to be in English and Spanish both. So you're going to have a chance to respond to a number of questions about how you learn about programs and activities? How would you want to spend $100? If the district had $100, what are the ways in which you want to distribute that money across different categories? If you look at a specific facility, we heard people telling us how much they love the field house. They want to expand that or look at something new, maybe a new recreation center, if there are any specific needs of that sort. How could funding be for something like that? Based on COVID, the perception of parks, recreation, trails, open spaces, and how you feel about that going forward as well. So a number of these questions that will be created with the staff and based on staff's input, based on all that you're going to share with us over these days, we will then have the survey data and the results that we'll share with you. So I'm going to pause here. And now we'd love to hear from you through the next poll that I am going to share about usage, quality, and access of the parks, trails, and recreation facilities in the Montrose community. So you'll see them on your screen. Here's the first question. How often do you use any Montrose community parks, trails, and/or recreation facilities? Second question is, which park amenities do you use regularly? Third is, how would you rate the overall quality of the Montrose community parks, recreation facilities, and trails? Fourth is, do you live within a 10-minute walk to a park or a trail? And fifth is, how do you travel to your nearest local park? So we'll give you all a few moments here. I am going to go back to the first question and we'll give you some time to go through these questions and the choices. Take your time, there's no rush. These are really important. I see about 2/3 of you have responded so far. We'll give you all about a minute more. I see Sean's input here as well. Sean says dog park. Sean, hold on. We're going to have some of those choices as well as you go forward too. If there's anything else you don't see here, also continue adding. So just like Sean did with the other, please enter those in the chat box as well. Okay, I will give you all about 30 seconds more, everybody. I see what 80% of you have responded. I like the results so far. These are great. Rest of you, if you're taking a moment, got about 10 seconds. All right, going once, going twice. Here we go. So let's look at the results of the first question. How often do you use any Montrose community parks, trails, and/or recreation facilities? More than half of you, 53%, said at least weekly. A third of you said monthly, and the rest said at least 6 times per year. So at least once every couple of months. That's great. The second choice here, second question, which park amenities do you use regularly? The majority by far, 2/3 of you said community recreation center. And actually, I take it back. The majority, 80% said trails, followed by 67% said community rec center. Those are the top two. I also see about an equal number, 20% said sports fields and 13% said sports fields as sports courts as well. And the field house is about 7%. Next one here, how would you rate the overall quality of the Montrose Community Parks, recreation facilities, and trails system? 60% of you said excellent. The remaining 40% said good. That's pretty phenomenal. To have 100% of you say good or excellent, that's pretty awesome. Okay, so then do you live within a 10-minute walk to a park or trail? Ooh, about 67% of you said you do not. Only a third of you said that you do. Okay. Lastly, about 87%, pretty much the majority of you, when asked about how do you travel to your nearest local park, said, I drive. This is multiple choice. So a lot of you also chose, about a third of you said, I bike. 20% said walk and ride with a friend. I am disappointed. None of you teleport to the parks. We need to fix that for next time. Okay, so then let's look at our next sequence of polling questions. This is about communication, how you hear about what's going on, and barriers to participation in terms of what's stopping you from participating more frequently. I'm going to launch the poll here. This is the first question. What are your three most preferred ways to learn about the Montrose Community Parks, recreation facilities, or trails? And the second question is, what are the three largest barriers that prevent you from using the Montrose Community Parks, recreation facilities, and trails more often? So, take another minute or so here. I'd love to hear the three most preferred ways to learn about the Montrose Community Parks, rec facilities, or trails. Remember, this is multiple choice. And then similarly, three largest barriers that prevent you from using these more often. Okay, I see your results coming in. This is great. If any of these choices or you have an other, that's great. I see no barriers for us. That's fantastic. As we go along, if you have questions of us, please feel free to continue asking those in the Q&A portion as well. You don't have to wait for the end to ask us the questions. We're happy to answer you as we go along. So I see about 73% of you have responded. I'm waiting for the rest of you to get your results here. Remember the three largest barriers. If you have any. Susie also says in the chat box, I learned about Pet District through signage at the MRD. Of course, Mindy, no doubt, COVID restrictions and lack of instructors as an other in terms of barriers to participation. I completely understand that. Alan talks about the absence of a rails to trail system is a big disincentive for us. I will give you all about 10 seconds more for those of you that have not responded yet to the polls and would like to do so. Please do it now. Okay, going once, going twice. Here we go. So, three most preferred ways. There's a tie, a three-way tie actually. Activity guide, email, and website are all at 60% of the respondents. Word of mouth is about, or social media is 47%. And then, the visitor center as well as word of mouth are 13 and 20% respectively. Three largest barriers that prevent you from using it more often. By far, the top one, 60% of you said that, was I am too busy. 53% said too far from my residence. And then about 40% said other, and I heard and read some of those comments in the chat as well. So this is definitely very helpful to know. It's hard. We can't control how busy everybody is. That's the reality of life these days. But in terms of distance from the residence or even wayfinding signage for trails and open space, I think those are certainly things that we will keep in mind as we think of access as well as wayfinding and signage. So then this gets me to our last major question area. And this is really the big one here. This is about what are things that exist in Montrose currently that you feel, I wish we would improve this. Or what are things that don't exist in Montrose? You may have seen them elsewhere. You may have read about it, something else. And you said, I would love to have this developed new in Montrose. And what would that be? So improvement and new development. Unfortunately, Zoom limits us to 10 choices. So we have 9 and then other. If there's something we have not listed, please feel free to drop that in the chat. And if you have any questions of us, again, keep using the Q&A portion here to ask questions of us as we go along. So your polling opens right now. See, the first question here is which 3 facilities, amenities are you and members of your household most interested in? See a number of choices here, from aquatic features to BMX and skate parks, to a dog park, to indoor recreation spaces, open space trails, fitness trails and pathways, and picnic areas, to playgrounds, a variety of different sports courts, basketball, pickleball. One of the fastest growing sports in the country as we speak is pickleball, tennis, and of course, the sports fields as well, from baseball, football, soccer, softball, etc. And if you don't have something else here, please enter that in the chat box. Second question that you also have relates to programming. And this is where I want you to share the top 3 types of programs that you would be most interested to participate in. Right? Everything from 50+ activities to looking at adult sports or recreation, aquatics, group fitness and classes, inclusion activities, outdoor recreation, youth enrichment, youth sports, and other. And Judy Ann, I see your note as well here, poll 4, you're talking of connected trails throughout the district. That's what you'd like to see. Excellent. Our third question is, what are the 3 most important improvements you are interested in adding to existing parks over the next 10 years? Again, this is a multiple choice. So look at all these different options here, from innovative all-ability playgrounds, to building new or upgrade existing sports courts, to building new or upgrading existing sports fields, to expanding and connecting the trail system, improving ADA accessibility, improving and expanding restroom facilities in existing parks, as well as signage and wayfinding, shade structures and picnic tables, outdoor fitness and obstacle courses, and an outdoor pool and splash pad. pick the top 3 most important improvements you are interested in adding over the next 10 years. And then the last question here is, please rate your satisfaction with the overall quality of what you receive from the Montrose Recreation District, from very satisfied to somewhat satisfied, all the way to somewhat dissatisfied or very dissatisfied. I also see Susie King's note here is outdoor lap pool, standalone spin cycle room at MRD, or a larger fit zone room. Susie, got it. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll give you all a minute more. Yeah, I see about 3/4 of you have responded to this. Waiting on the last few here. I see Mindy's note as well. Larger weight and fit zone area. Mindy, thank you. Okay, everyone, we'll give you the final 30 seconds here for these last few choices. These are really, really important. Amenity facilities, program needs, your value and the quality of what's being offered as well. And then what are things you would want the district to do in the next 10 years? I also see Mindy's note here about connecting the trail south of town for safe riding to Ridgeway. I see Kay Davis talks about a wave pool. That's cool. Okay. Susie also agrees with Mindy's comment about connecting the trail south of town for safe riding to Ridgeway. All right. So I'm going to end the poll here and let's take a look at your results. So top 3 facility amenities you're most interested in. 93% said open space, trails, fitness trails, and pathways, by far the number 1. It's followed by 60% said indoor recreation spaces. A third of you also said aquatic features, pool and splash pad. 27% said picnic areas, and then just, sports fields with 20%, sports courts, and so on. So this is great. Second question was top 3 types of programs you would be most interested to participate in. And 67% here also said outdoor recreation, by far the number 1 again. 53% said group fitness, followed by 40% with aquatics, 27% adult recreation, 20% each for adult and youth sports, as well as 50+ activities. That's very helpful. Let's look at our next one here. 3 most important improvements you are interested in adding to existing parks over the next 10 years. 87% expand and connect the trail system. Fantastic. I see a pretty even split after that. 40% said outdoor pool or splash pad. 33% said outdoor fitness and obstacle courses, as well as 33% said build new or upgrade the existing sports courts, basketball, pickleball, and tennis. For those of you that chose that, if you have a specific sport you have in mind for sports courts or for sports fields, feel free to type that in the chat box as well, please. And then the last question was satisfaction with the overall quality. A majority, almost 3/4 of you said very satisfied, and the remaining said somewhat satisfied. So 100% of you chose somewhat or very satisfied, which is really, really encouraging to see. So I am going to stop sharing the results here. This brings us to the end of the polling style questions. But now I'm going to encourage our team to start sharing their screen. So we will be available to answer any questions you have. If you want to type that in the chat box as well, please do so. We'd love to hear your questions as well. And once we're done, we will then wrap this up. So Susie, I see your note as well, a little feedback. I really enjoyed this presentation. I wish the info got out sooner and more widespread. Super excited about the future of Montrose and recreation. That's great. Susie, we're counting on you to spread the word about makemymontrose.com. If you can let people know to go there, we have open-ended comment boxes and people have been sharing feedback all along. Also, even this recorded meeting will be on the website too going forward. So those that could not attend today can see the video afterwards as well. Christina, if you wouldn't mind, please type this question in the Q&A portion and not the chat box so we can officially track that as well. Nancy, same thing, if you don't mind, go to the Q&A portion on the panel that you see. And if you click on that, it'll give you the chance to type in your question. Perfect. Thank you, Christina. And I am going to let Mary speak to this first, and then I will add to that as well.
Which one, Neely?
What
Sorry.
amenities? Yeah, what amenities do you see
Wow.
in other towns that you think should be added, expanded in Montrose?
Wow, let's not get us started. I think one of the things you all have spoken to it, one of the things that we've seen throughout COVID for sure, as we look across the entire state of Colorado, certainly the Front Range, is the overcrowding on the trails and the access points to people's neighborhoods because people have needed to and wanted to be outdoors, right? So, and that's something that's been lacking generally in Montrose. We have the paved trails, but we haven't had a need over time to really have open space and more passive opportunities where people can be outside and just enjoy nature and being. And so I think that while it's not super exciting and not incredibly glamorous, it's something that obviously people value a lot. I mean, in other countries, there's been a big push on just having outdoor, just outdoor forests, just where people can go and rejuvenate and things like that. And we've always been really lucky for that in the United States, but we can have more of that, certainly on the Western slope where land has always been really plentiful. But people, as more and more people come here and more people crowd into the spaces that we have, there'll be a greater emergence for that need. Certainly you guys have already all spoken to the aquatics and the innovations in aquatics, the innovations in the programming. We're also lucky here. We've got one of the best community recreation centers in the entire state. It's certainly one of the newest. We can see a need already. We hit capacity after only 1 year. We see a need probably for expansion, and you guys have spoken to it tonight. Larger spaces, more and more. So you know, those are just some of the very topical things that we've heard from you, we've seen in other places. We have tons of ideas, but this isn't the staff's plan. We want to hear from you based on what your families are seeing in other parts of the country, what you're seeing as you visit. What are those things that really attract you to the other places that we can bring home to Montrose and make this the place for us?
I've been encouraging others to type in the questions. Go ahead.
Zumba from Nancy. Will Zumba be offered again? We sure hope so. We've had a long, slow emergence from COVID. And unfortunately, we lost a lot of our instructors, not to COVID. We just lost them. They've gone away. They've done other things. They've chosen not to come back yet. So we continue to look for new and different ways to expand our offerings. Some of those staples that you always counted upon, the Zumba, the Body Fit, Body Sculpt, those programs we continue to try to rebuild, as well as new programs along the way. So give us some more time, and keep asking for it and talk to your friends and neighbors and help see if we can get more people certified, more people attracted, get their skills represented here in our class offerings.
I see Judy Ann's note as well. Water sports park is not entered into any discussion I have shared. Is that an issue?
So for purposes of the polling, by and large, I'm not sure exactly how to answer that. I'm sorry. I was trying to think. We tried to focus by and large on the amenities that are absolutely the recreation district's offering, and the water sports park is one owned and operated by the city of Montrose, although the district certainly partners in that endeavor. But there was also some limitation in terms of the number of amenities that we could include in the polling and the offerings. So Neela, you want to speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is still the early step, right? So once we have the statistically valid survey and the online survey, that's when we're going to be asking more than 10 choices. There'll be 20, 30 different choices, and people get to rank them against each other. So that's when we're going to have a much better sense of, whether it's water sports park or other kinds of activities, if that's truly a community-wide and a representative need, or if that's more for a smaller group as well. So stay tuned. I see another one here from Ralph that says, how about support for the disc golf course? Again, I think to me, and Mary or Jeremy, feel free to add to that as well. This is where we're looking for your information, right? So the more people speak to that, we had someone in one of our meetings this morning talk about disc golf as well and wanting to get more opportunities for the growing disc golf, frisbee golf community. So the more we hear, especially in the statistically valid survey, the easier it is for us to make the recommendation and say this is a high priority that the district should be investing money on in the coming years.
Yes, and I will add to that there could be opportunities for additional disc golf facilities at existing parks or even new parks that have yet to be built. And the rec district can also partner or begin to run programming at the existing disc golf course, which is managed by the city. But we often run programs on city facilities, and we have a wonderful partnership with the city to run a lot of our soccer and lacrosse programs on Cerise Field, which is a city-owned park.
There's a couple more in the questions. Mary, maybe you can take that. Is when will spinning return as a group activity at the rec? And then will a dedicated room be added for spinning at the rec center?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get back to one, rebuilding the programs that we've lost along the way. Actually, I do believe I've seen a posting from John Wagner. He's our fitness leader. And I think that we have a spinning class that's beginning back up in either later May or June. So we're excited for that. And then as we rebuild these programs and get greater participation, and we absolutely recognize the need for building out more space. Long ago, and Susie and others can attest to this, that there was a plan there was a very intentional design of the envelope of the community recreation center to enable future expansions. So for example, upstairs on the track over the gym storage area, that's to be an additional room. The space was designed with extra room on the outside to add on to, whether you're talking about restrooms or another spin room or another large TRX station or another large fitness zone. Those have all been built into the original formula, and we will continue to look at the data that we collect from our community, the input that they provide us, and see where and when and how we need to go and how we're going to get there.
That's all the questions we have in the chat as well as within the Q&A portion itself. So I am going to bring us back to our final portion here. Let me share my screen again and we're getting to the home stretch, people. So final reminders here, next steps. As I said, all the input from this process will be captured for a statistically valid survey, an online survey through Make My Montrose. Our team's going to be doing site assessments and intercept surveys this coming week. We're going to start the program assessment too with Mary and her team. And so in the coming months, we'll be aggregating all this information and bringing it back to you as a findings presentation from all these needs that we've heard, and bring it back to you and get a sense of, are we on the right track? Is this in line with the vision that you had for Montrose? Is there something else we should be thinking about, and so on? And of course, ongoing updates, your feedback as well. Please keep going to the website and checking for future meetings, as well as looking for the launch of Happy Feet Montrose next month. So final reminder here for the website. And if there's anything else that you think of, please feel free to go to the open-ended comment box and share your input there as well. So I want to thank you all for your time and your input this evening, and please stay connected. Thank you again. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.